Dojo. Thank you for joining us. I haven't done this in a while, but just to recap, we here at Medicare Gurus, we have a live sales floor here in Cedar Park, Texas. And during the day, we have agents coming and going, talking about their experience with Medicare, clients, private, obviously there for discretion, but talking about their experience and sharing with you guys what it's like to be an agent. And so today we're going to do things a little bit different. We've been in the past couple dojos working with helping agents, becoming better agents. Well, today we're going to shift gears and we're going to focus on the client. Okay. What we're going to do today is we're going to first start off with questions that clients might have or prospective clients might have about Medicare. We're going to generate those questions and we're going to try and answer them together. You know, they could be as basic as what is Medicare, but also it's like we also want to look at specific examples, you know, like someone on group coverage, someone, you know, on who's retiring, some, you know, all these situations that we will come up with, and then we'll answer them together. We're even going to go be interactive and go onto Medicare.gov and kind of give this example of going into looking at drug plans and just kind of helping the client along the way. So the first question that I have that I'll pose to you that we'll answer together is, I am someone new to Medicare. I am turning 65. I have no idea what I'm doing. Who wants to take that one?
All day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of those. And thank God we do, because we want them to talk to us. You know, a lot of people, they look at TV ads, they talk to their friends, they go on the internet, they get a lot of bad information, and they get totally confused. And that's generally what you hear. You know, I've looked at a few things, I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you help me with this? So generally, somebody that's turning 65, what do they have to do? They have to enroll in Medicare. Unless they're on Social Security, then it's going to start automatically. So that's done through, as we know, through Social Security. And I'll usually direct them to ssa.gov. And you should have an account with Social Security anyway, just to keep track of things. But that makes it easy. There's a button to enroll, piece of cake. When do you do that? During the initial election period. 3 months before your effective month, and 3 months after. I'll usually recommend, hey, first day of the month that hits, like if you have a February birthday, first day of November, go on that website, apply. Why? Because it's going to take a little while to get the information. They'll send you a letter in a couple weeks, and then you'll get your card with your identifier, MBI, Medicare Beneficiary Identifier. You will need that to get a drug plan. That will start on your effective day. First day of the month you turn 65 will be your effective day. So, you know, that's usually how I approach it. And then we'll get into supplemental plans, which generally, you know, you can apply 6 months prior to lock in a current premium and get it off the books and get that part taken care of. The rest of it, drug plan, of course, you have to wait. Ancillary, you can do that as well, final expense and that sort of thing. But the main thing, we want to drive the bus on that whole conversation because of all the misinformation that's out there available. Mm-hmm. So that's how I do it.
Okay. Yeah. I am a client or a prospective client. I'm hearing Part A and Part B. I thought I just signed up for Medicare. What does A and B mean? I have no idea. Can you guys help me with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, to answer that question, it goes along with, you know, after directing about the necessary order of things, it's going into, well, obviously you want to do discovery, build a bond with them, but then definitely you want to not shortcut that educational, you know, period or section of the script. You want to go through that thoroughly, probably go through it slower, be receptive to them asking questions, pause for them to leave space for questions. Get confirmation that they're understanding everything you're saying, and just know that you're going to have to handle them probably with kid gloves, which is really the way to handle people like that. And make them realize, look, this is so important because you will be dealing with this for the rest of your life. And we want to empower you with the knowledge of how all this works so that you can make adjustments and things for years to come.
Yeah. So Penny, what do you tell them when they ask what the difference is? How do you explain it to them?
Well, we went in the educational part. Of course, we have a nice section where we go through A being hospitalization and what is under A, what is covered, for how long is it covered, and we have a section for B, what that covers, the deductible. And we talk about nursing care and, skilled nursing and all the things so that they understand fully what each of them covers and what they're about to have as their coverage. So they can make an educated decision about what they're going to do going forward with that. I mean, you need to know what you have, what you're about to have, so oh, I understand how the supplement works now, as you're educating them, so they're making a smart decision for themselves based on knowledge and not misinformation.
Right.
Unintuitive.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So Brad, I thought that I was paying for Medicare my whole life. Why do I have to pay this premium now for this Part B? Why is that happening?
Well, the part you were paying for through your deductions covers your Part A premium, which is about $500 a month. And you've been paying into this for a while. If you have 40 quarters of work history or 10 years worth of FICA deductions, that covers Part A, which is nice, because that can really be expensive if you don't. And some people have never paid into Part A. And it's a shock when they find out it's going to be $4.99 a month. And then they also have to pay for Part B. Part B in itself is an insurance plan. It's outpatient insurance. Doctor bills, lab work, x-rays, durable medical equipment. That all encompasses Medicare Part B. Standard rate's $170.10 a month. It is set forth by the federal government every year. And it is income-based, depending on what you made 2 years ago. But, it only covers part, covers 80% up to, well, you could be exposed up to 35% out of pocket. So hence the need for a supplemental plan.
No dental. That's another thing. A lot of people don't realize no dental and vision
Right.
is in there.
Yeah, and I think the common misconceptions about the cost of everything is that it does cost something, and it's something to be budgeted for. And it's important because your income is now, you're going to be in a fixed income. Also, clearing up the common misconception that just your Medicare A and B covers everything, including dental, vision, hearing, and prescriptions. And it's unfortunate, sometimes it's a tough conversation to have, but it's something that you have to know as somebody who's going to be on Medicare. You have to know the truth and not sugarcoat it. And, we're here to tell you exactly what to expect as far as budgeting is concerned and making sure you have yourself taken care of in all aspects. So there are no, you're not exposed in any way if something happens with your health.
That has to be disclosed.
Yeah. So if I'm a client and I get my MBI card in Medicare, I go to the doctor, what happens?
Well, hopefully you will have taken advantage of your 6-month enrollment period, open enrollment, which begins 6 months before your Medicare start date. Hopefully you've taken advantage of that so that your benefits and your supplemental have all synced up with the Medicare system so that you have a nice smooth start when you do have to go see the doctor. But that's why open enrollment is so important, and why, even though you have 6 months to get it all done, why you should do it as soon as you can and not wait till the last minute.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about what this supplement is. I'm confused. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but I'm confused. I'm paying for a premium for Medicare. Shouldn't I be covered? What is this supplement that you're talking about?
I can take that. Well, we would normally go through Medicare, explain what the gaps are.
Right.
You can really lose the farm without a supplemental plan. It's very, very dangerous. Who can afford 20% of a doctor bill in a hospital setting? Up to 35%. So you need something to pay for that and not have to worry about anything. It's a tremendous peace of mind. When you go to the doctor, you show your Medicare card and your supplemental card. And generally it's like, okay, see you next time. even if you have a Plan G, you'll get a bill for the Part B deductible, but it's so smooth. I mean, it's great. But without a supplemental, you're really rolling the dice. And types of supplemental plans vary, A through N. Some letters of the alphabet are missing because they were made obsolete back in June of 2010. There's people that still have those plans, but they're spending a lot of money for it because it's a closed off risk pool, and they were replaced because Medicare generally has assumed those portions of the plan and made that 100% Medicare coverage. So they're not available anymore. But usually we want all our clients covered to the best that they possibly can.
Yeah.
New people coming onto Medicare, Plan G is the highest option. And that's normally what we would recommend.
So how do I get in a supplement? It sounds like I know how to get A and B through Medicare.gov, or sorry, so Social Security. I can get that started. How do I get a supplement?
How do you get into supplement? You call Victoria Lewis personally, and I can sit there right away.
Nice.
So you call a reputable insurance agent, such as Medicare Gurus, for example, someone who's going to really educate you and answer your questions, make it clear, because really the basics of Medicare are not as complicated as the Medicare.gov website makes it seem. What I tell people is Medicare.gov will have every single bit of information you could possibly ever hope, wish, and dream for. They're not very good teachers. It's really easy to get confused and overwhelmed with all the just the vast amount of information on that site. So it's always really, it's really good to speak to a reputable, knowledgeable agent who can really just pare it down to what's the core of it. So what's important, and answer questions that are specific to you, and and just kind of put all that into perspective and really simplify it, because it's just so easy to go off on 100 tangents with any scenario you can think of and just get yourself overwhelmed and make it to where you're just feeling so defeated that you just are paralyzed and you can't make a decision. And then in the end, you don't take action on what you need to when you need to, and the risk is that you don't have the coverage when you need it the most.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad we're playing along. I like how we are just sticking to the mindset of that brand new person, because you guys all know, as many people that you've talked to, a lot of these people don't know. They have no idea how Medicare works. They have no idea how supplements work. All they know are these very intense commercials that they see on television that they think that that's Medicare. So I don't want to go down that discussion yet. I still want to stay with our very naive person who's turning 65. Okay, so we have Medicare, we have supplement. I think that's it, unless there's something else that we're missing along with our medical coverage. What are we missing? Our Part D. So can you kind of talk about just in general, like what I have to do to get my medications taken care of? Because it looks like I thought that I had everything bottled up, but it looks like I don't. Can you talk a little bit about
and
how that
generally,
works?
people that have had a group plan all life, they've got their medications are included. They might have dental and some vision coverage. So it's segregated out a little bit. Now, any medications that are done in the hospital or doctor's office will be covered under Part B, like chemotherapy, for instance, or injections and infusions, which can be very expensive. That's covered under Medicare Part B and or A, and the supplemental plan that you bought will pick up the balance of the bill. Now, any pills that you take home with you, any outpatient prescription medications, that's Medicare Part D as in drug. It's a separate plan. It's an annual contract. It will roll over, but ideally you want to redo that every October 15th through December 7th for the upcoming year, just to make sure everything is current, because things change every year.
The formularies change.
Yes, and if you let it roll over, it's just going to wind up costing you more money. But that's a separate contract altogether. Now, it's a personal choice. If you do not elect to take out a drug plan, there is a penalty, and it's based on 1% per month of what the national average of what a drug plan costs. And to make a long story short, right now that's about $5 a year, but it is cumulative. So if 5 years down the road, you decided, hey, you know, I'm getting older, I might be on some meds, I want to take out Part D, and you haven't done it, well, 5 times 5 is 25. They're going to tack that $25 penalty onto your drug plan every month for the rest of your life, which scares a lot of people. I could go into what I did, but that's a different conversation.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, we don't want to
yeah,
confuse them.
don't want to
Right.
confuse
The
people.
new person.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But that's, you know, that's another end of the equation. Then dental vision hearing, like you mentioned, we want to make sure all the gaps are at least explained.
Mhm.
Not everybody wants that extra coverage. It's something you can always enroll in later on without a penalty, dental vision hearing. You know, final expense policies, that sort of thing. A lot of different ancillary products that are available, but to get your basic things covered, you know, Medicare A and B, supplemental plan, Part D plan. You know,
This one's completely opposite for what I had planned.
yeah.
We were not even going to talk about supplements or advantage plans. We were just going to talk straight. What is Medicare?
Well, that's what we're doing.
Turning 65. How did supplements come up?
We're just talking about, we're pretending that we are a brand new person.
He's the devil's advocate.
I'm a brand new person. I'm turning 65 and I have no idea what I'm doing. So we're just talking about what that entails. Like, what is A and B? I'm pretending I have no idea what A and B is. So we are talking about what A and B is. We're talking about, okay, I have A and B. I go to the doctor. What does that look like? And then we go from there. It's like, okay, now you have 80% covered. What happens next? And then we talk about the supplement. We're not getting into details of supplement. We just talk about like what you need covered and how do you get a supplement. And then we're talking about Part D now. Okay, now Part D you have to get as well because that's separate from that. So we're taking like an individual recipient of Medicare that has no idea what they're doing. We are instructing them on the basics on what you need to do.
Did you follow through Medicare.gov?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're not doing there. We're just
that was the basis of the whole thing. Page
Yes.
1. What is Medicare?
yes. So that's what we're doing. We're doing what is. We don't want to go into Medicare yet because we just want to start off with, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need information. And we're starting from A and B, which we've talked about. Talked about what a supplement is, and we talked about what Part D is. And you walked in right when Part D is being explained.
Okay.
You good?
Good.
Okay.
Next step.
Yes. Okay. So now what we're doing is we want to look at different types of new people that are turning 65. So I want to take it to the next step. Okay. We've talked about a new person who has turned 65. What about their spouse? Okay. Now I'm a spouse of somebody who's turning 65. Okay. How do we talk to them?
Well, therein lies an issue.
Mhm.
Because if you have, let's say the husband is turning 65, the wife is 62, what's the wife going to do? What's your family going to do when you turn 65?
Right.
Are you going to stay on your group plan to have them covered? Are you going to get them some individual coverage? This is something that has to be addressed because that's a situation that happens quite often.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will say, well, I'll probably stay with my group plan through work so my spouse can be covered. In that case, you know, they can not have to take out Part B and take it out later, you know. But it's a very common thing. You know, both people work, they both have their own coverages and they have their kids all covered. You know, I'm surprised it doesn't come up more, you know, but that is something that definitely has to be addressed because, yeah. Medicare is individualized. There's no group plans with Medicare.
Right. You can't add your spouse
Right.
to your Medicare plan.
Yeah. So what conversations have you had in situations like this?
Yeah.
How have you guided your clients?
Right, that they don't have to apply for B.
Mhm.
They can just apply for A, which they've already paid for usually. You make sure they have had their 40 quarters. But they can apply for A because they've already paid it. And then that's extra coverage with their group plan if they did get hospitalized in the
Mhm.
next few years while they continue to work and have their spouse on their employer coverage.
Mhm.
And when they actually know their retirement date and when they want to then end their coverage, they need to apply for Medicare before that.
Mhm.
So they have time to get their Medicare Part B. Then that time they can make it a smooth transition so that they now have A and B
Mhm.
and a supplement plan. You would have to go into the conversation about adding the other coverage as well if they
Mhm.
wanted dental, vision, hearing,
Right.
et cetera, at that time, all over again.
Yeah.
I think you have to ask the important questions that you're probably not even thinking about, which is you want to make sure no spouse or child or dependent is being annoying, unbeknownst to them, adversely affected by the one person going on Medicare. So you can't just focus on that person. You also have to think of those other things, because if you guide them towards putting them on Medicare when they could have stayed on group and kept their whole family insured, and you didn't ask those questions, set up on Medicare, and suddenly October 1st rolls around and they're on Medicare and suddenly their family has no coverage, they're going to be calling you saying, why didn't you think about that? Or why
Right.
didn't you tell me that that would happen to them?
Mhm.
You know, yes, is that a question and a concern they should have brought to you or thought about? Sure, of course.
Mhm.
But ultimately, you are, us as the agent, we're responsible for knowing better and asking those questions. But definitely, if clients on their own or prospective Medicare recipients, I think it's just an important thing to think about, that you are not just unto yourself. Your decisions with your insurance could very, very likely affect the coverage for your family and your dependents. And
Yeah.
those have to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
For sure.
My whole thing with it, it's all cart before the horse.
Yeah.
You know, this whole point was to talk about just Medicare, not talk about plans where if you're turning 65, if you're retiring, if you've been working past 65 and you're now retiring, you don't need to go and start shopping for a supplement or an advantage plan.
Right.
You don't need to shop for anything. You need to go to page 1 of Medicare.gov and learn what Medicare is. Now, when we say cart before the horse too, that's as us, that's our responsibility to find out. That's the very last question on the first page is, do you have anybody that helps you with this?
Mhm.
You know, not only is that a decision maker, but then you get to ask, okay, do you have a spouse? You know, that's such an easy way to double the amount of people that you talk to and double the amount of people that you can help. Because a whole lot of people, if they're retiring and they're 65 and you never ask about their spouse, you can never plan for it. You don't know about it. You don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
So really, you know, instead of just assuming that, okay, he's turning 65, we're going to do plan G. Here we go. Take the plan aspect out of it and actually find out about the person more.
Yeah.
Because I've had people before. I have this great group of brothers in Georgia. Okay. And they're pretty high level executives. Guy was turning 65 in January and he was going to retire at the same time, January 1st. His wife was only 61. And I begged him, do not get off of your coverage, because at 61 years old, she has to go onto Obamacare. And I was like, you don't understand. We're talking $700-800 a month for an out of pocket of $8,000 or $9,000.
Right.
I was like, you just don't, like, I'm trying to tell you not to do this. And
Right.
he's like, I don't care. I have the money to pay for that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of hits you and you go, oh, okay. Oh,
Okay.
whew, all right, we high rolling now.
Yeah.
But putting that
Right.
into his mind showed that it was not about putting a tick on the board or getting a commission check.
Mhm.
It was, I repeatedly told him no for days. And this was going back and forth through email. Well, what about this? And I was like, your wife is going to lose coverage. No. Like, he would give me 3 or 4 paragraphs in a row. I would say no, because your wife is going to lose coverage. And finally, by the end of it, he kind of had to grab me and go, look, bud, I've got the money for it.
Mhm.
I just want to get on Medicare and get off this stupid plan that I have.
Mhm.
Okay.
Buy you and selling,
buy
you again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how it was. And that was kind of, it finally took that moment to be like, okay, fine, we'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, but we will do it.
Right.
And what is that going to lead to in 4 years? That's going to be a client. That whole interaction led to him giving his 2 brothers my information too, and now going through it. And it's just because from the get-go, it was about, you need to learn about Medicare.
Mhm.
You need to learn about when you can apply, how you can apply, what regulations stick to you. But more importantly, you need to learn the basics before we start sprinting here. And we get into price, and we get into Part D plans and DVH plans and final expense. All of that is secondary to the actual health coverage.
Okay, that's a good transition point. So I'm going to pass this over to you,
Okay.
and I'm going to talk while you navigate, okay? Because I think that's what you have in mind where you want to go on Medicare.gov. So we have, and I like how we're having these conversations. You know, you have somebody who's brand new to Medicare, and I have no idea. So we're having these conversations with the husband, with the wife, you know, either or. We're like, okay, first you have to know what's going on. You have to know what A and B is. So Jacob, why don't you just tell us like how you got to the page that we're looking at right now?
So as you can see here, and I know, sorry, camera guys, this is kind of awkward.
No, they're going to split it. Yeah, they know how to split it. Yeah.
Well, I was supposed to sit right there and do this. That way I could look forward.
Oh, okay.
But it's okay.
So, you want to switch?
No, it's
I'll take care of it.
it's fine.
Okay, cool.
So from here, this is just from straight Medicare.gov. You go under basics because that's what you need to learn first. You need to learn your basics first, and you go to get started with Medicare. Okay. So you can see here, even Medicare follows kind of the same script that we do. Your basics of Medicare. How do you sign up for Medicare? How do you pick your coverage? And how do you use your Medicare once you get it? So from here, Medicare basics, this is kind of what we've been covering here, and what you really need to focus on in the beginning of creating that relationship with somebody is first and foremost, go over what is Medicare. Because 90% of the people that we talk to that are turning 65 have no idea what Medicare is. They just know that it's on your tax reduction or your payroll stub. That's all they know. And they just know, hey, I'm 65, some kind of time rolls around. But from here, these were the 4 things that I really wanted to harp on today. Is just, what are the parts of Medicare? What are your general costs within Medicare? And then from there, go to how Medicare works, where you have some different options. You have 3 options on how you want to be covered. But then as well, too, if you are working past 65. Because this whole topic came up because not only do we want to make content for seniors and people going through this, as well as agents and agencies, too. But if we can have this stuff on video file, going over, this is what you need to know about Medicare. If we have somebody that can only communicate through email or can only communicate on Sundays, if you can't have time to do that, you can say, look, we can't communicate about this directly, but I can send you this video that goes over everything you need to know about Medicare to start before we even have a conversation about coverage, about your health, about your drugs. This way you have a foundation. So when we start that conversation, if you have to come in Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, you've already taken out a big chunk of that time where you can kind of get into it. That was the whole point of this, was to create a resource for everybody to have, where some of the most basic questions that we get asked the most here, we have something where if we need to send it to a client, we can. And this all came up from somebody that was referred to me that's turning 65 in November, and they want to keep on their they want to go to the Retirement Advantage plan. And the person that referred them goes, I do not want them on that. Do not let them take that. But this person is so set on, I want this retirement plan. It's the best for me. I've been brainwashed for 40 years by my company, and they've been choosing my health insurance, and they choose this retirement plan. Now, I might not retire. I might still work, but I'm just going to have this Advantage plan here. And I keep telling the guy, hey, buddy, call me so we can talk about this on the phone. This is through email, never works. You're never going to get your point across. They're never going to understand everything fully because to them, there's no emotion behind what you're describing. It's just numbers. That's all it is. So for him, I've tried now multiple times, buddy, call me. Pick a time, call me. I'll go Saturday or Sunday just because you're a family friend. But I need times where we can talk about this. And I was a little overzealous too. I go, give me 2 hours. Give me 2 hours. You will know as much as I do when it comes to Medicare, and you will be taken care of for 11-1, no matter what path that is. But I need your dedicated time. And when I said the 2 hours, that's when he kind of went quiet. He was like, oh, wow, you my back. You're really thorough with it, aren't you? And I go, yes, because I don't want to have to describe all of this to you November 5th when it's already started and you don't know what it is. So that was the whole point of today. Have we talked about this here?
No.
Okay.
All we did, so just to keep you heads
Okay.
up, we started this conversation because we want to do a series of this.
Mm-hmm.
So we just led with, let's start with step 1. Who are we talking to first? Who's the most basic person that we are talking to? And that is someone who's turning 65, who has no idea what Medicare is.
Mhm.
So you enter the perfect place. So we wanted to lead with this because we said, okay, this person is turning 65. They have no idea what it is, and they have a spouse.
Mhm.
So this is a perfect transition to go right here.
Okay. So then, and this is what I'm just going to show real quick on the screen here. This is kind of what the series that we're going to do here, where we have a basics, we have a sign up, we have a coverage, and then we have actually using it.
Yep.
So people kind of know. So Medicare kind of made it easy, so I didn't have to make a slideshow. We're piggybacking here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So when we look at here, this is something in the script that majority of people have no idea about. This is why this takes up about a third of our conversation in what we do. Because when people get on Medicare, they don't actually know how Medicare itself works. And there's, like I said, there's 3 different things that you can do with Medicare, whether it's straight Medicare, supplemental plan, or Advantage plan. All 3 of them work differently with these numbers here. So if you are turning 65, if you are getting Part B, these are the numbers that you need to look at before you look into a supplement or an Advantage plan, because you got to know the basics before you can get advanced. So we start talking about MOOPs and copays and deductibles. This is exactly what it is here. So with Medicare costs, I'm sure you guys already went over $0 premium with Part A. If
Yes.
you work your quarters.
Just very basic, yes.
One thing that people don't understand, and this is where as an agent doing this too, this is the easiest turn point when somebody says, yeah, I want to look at my supplement price, but boy, my prescription plan sure is killing me here. It's because you have these figures where if somebody wants to talk about their prescription, they want to talk about whatever it is, they could be Trulicity, that's $300 to $700 a month. Okay. You can say, okay, what we need to talk about first and foremost is your actual health coverage. Because you want standard Medicare, this is what's going to happen. You get admitted to the hospital, a little bit over $1,500. That's how much it is. From there, you've got 60 days where they will cover you. But if you've really got something wrong, you're now going to have to pay $389 a day that you're in there for the next 30 days. And then the next 60 days after that, $778. And then if you're in there after 150, you got to pay everything. People don't realize that when we talk about Medicare. They don't realize, oh, there's actually coverage behind this. It's not just something I sign up for. So this is why it's so important, even in our presentation, why we go through all these numbers and we go through all these scenarios, because you may never know if this is going to apply to you. I take my guy from Chicago that had the lung transplant. That's a perfect example I like to use, where he was healthy when he was 65 and he passes away at 68. He had a lung transplant and COVID, and he was in there for 170 days, and his wife called crying because they didn't have any bills. She thought they would, and I go, you won't. And we called, and they said, you don't have bills, and she just couldn't believe it. Too, another little agent pro move here, use those stories when you're going through this.
Yeah.
I always use that story for days 150 plus, because nothing resonates more with clients on the line when you're talking about a situation that they could possibly be in. To use those third-party references, especially if you got to steal it from this guy or steal it from me. We used to have a guy here named Nick. I would steal what happens to Nick in his daily life, talking about seniors and seniors on supplemental plans.
Yeah.
Use those references when going through here, because it builds so much value to actually think of it. Because now you have an emotional connection to, after day 150, you pay everything. Versus now you have a story about how a man had to go get a organ transplant that then got COVID, basically lived in a hospital for half a year and paid $0 for all of that care. That's what really resonates with people. That's what they don't see.
So let me ask a question here. Yeah. So I am a Medicare. I have my MBI now. I've signed up. I go to the hospital. I hurt my arm. I had to go to the emergency room, and they patched me up, and I'm totally fine. Do I still have to pay $1,500?
We're getting there.
Okay, cool.
We are getting there. So that is when you're admitted.
Gotcha.
$1,500 when you're admitted as an inpatient.
Okay, so an inpatient.
Not an overnight observation.
Okay, gotcha.
Correct. So that's just the very first part here, because what we want to do is, like I said, we want to get the basics, but we have to justify why as an agent. Why would we go down a supplemental route? Why would we go down an Advantage Plan route? And this is your baseline where you can deviate off of, because this is everybody's baseline. Because at the end of the day, if they got rid of supplemental plans and they got rid of Advantage Plans, everybody would have the same coverage on Medicare. And it's this exactly.
Yeah.
So nothing gets more basic than this. Now, Part B, this is where it gets a little confusing. How about we let Mr. Irma here talk about Part B premiums?
Okay, well, the Part B premiums are set forth by the federal government annually. They change. They've gone down in the past,
And they can go down again, but it is based upon your income from 2 years ago, and it's incrementally rated up. So standard rate right now is 170.10, but you can pay over $500 a month for Part B. Now, personally, I like to disclose these things in my conversation because I don't want surprises. And people say, well, why were you bringing that up? Just, no, they need to know what their cost is going to be, so they can plan. But this is something that, you're going to pay for that. When you enroll in Medicare, you're going to get billed quarterly. If you're taking out Social Security early, at 62, they're going to start all this stuff automatically, A and B, and they're going to take out your premium right from your social. If you don't take out social until you're fully retirement age, they're going to bill you quarterly, at least on the first bill. Then you can set it up however you want, monthly draft, they'll even do a credit card. There's lots of different ways to pay for Part B, but you don't want to lapse on your Part B. That's extremely important. If you do lapse, there is a big penalty, 10% per year. And you can only enroll one time of the year, January 1st through March 31st for a July 1st effective date. And they'll tack that penalty on every month for the rest of your life. But that's a very important part of Part B or Medicare, because that's really the crux of what you're going to be using. Most of those things will be Part B, unless you get admitted to as a hospital as an inpatient, and you can be in outpatient observation for up to 3 days. Part A doesn't even kick in, So it's generally going to be Part B for practically everything you're going to deal with. And you want to make sure that's covered. But anyway.
And there's certain situations too in doing this. I've had the same people that they'll call me in August because they forgot to enroll for their Part B. They never did it. And so I'll tell them, hey, look, I'll set a reminder for January. I will call you. I will text you. I'll let you know you need to enroll in Part B. Okay. So I'll call them, text them in January. Hey, enroll in Part B for July 1st. You'll be good. And that next August rolls around and say, hey, we're ready to sign up. And I go, okay, sign up for what? And they go, well, for a plan. I go, okay, did you get your Part B? And they go, well, no. I go, well, then you have to wait until January 1st again. And I hate to say it, this has been 2 years in a row now. I'm still going to remind them in January. I can't make them put the paperwork in. That's, with sales, with being a mentor, with coaching, I can't make you do something. You have to want to do it yourself. Now, is this probably going to happen for 3 years in a row? I hope to God it doesn't. Okay. Because she needs some doctor's help. Because right now, all she has is Part A, and she's 68. So it's already happened. That's what, 3 times now? Two with me, when they just won't do it. But that's one situation. Another situation that you go into a lot, and this is just through experiences, through talking with people. This is a family member that I'm going to have a conversation with because they're turning 65 in April. They don't live in the United States year round. They live in France. But they have French health coverage that travels with them out of state. Now they have dual residency, so they are paying taxes here. But what we need to look at is if by the off chance you do come back to America, what does that look like? What does that happen if it's when you're 73 or if it's when you're 80 or 85? The more that you're around Medicare, the more you run into situations like this where people come from overseas and they haven't worked credits. They haven't done Part A. I have to figure that out for her. We have to call Social Security together and figure out if she's going to have to pay for Part A, because that's a big thing too. if she has to pay $500 a month plus she's going to get an IRMA rate up as well, plus the IRMA rate up, she'll be looking standard Medicare for $800 just to have A and B. That's without supplemental, that's without Advantage, that's without anything else. But there are certain situations to where this number right here, that 170, if you could show that age right here, this 170/10 and this late enrollment penalty, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble really quick. Because if she goes 15 years and she waits until she's 80, she comes back to America, and then she tries to apply for Part B, not only is she going to have that late enrollment penalty, then on top of that, she's going to have her Part A premium that she might have to pay because she didn't work enough credits.
Right.
And so you're really just digging yourself in a hole by not knowing what Medicare is and how Medicare works. That's why it's so important that we have a starter video for this, just so you can say, look, you need to know all of this before we even talk about Advantage plan, supplemental plan, about your actual health coverage. You need to know what you're getting first. So those are two big things hit on. Deductible is $233. Part B, you got to pay the remaining 20% there. That's getting more into specifics there. Drug coverage, we'll do a whole video on that later. What to look for in a drug plan? What is a donut hole? What is the catastrophic level? What's the deductible level? What is a tier 2 versus a tier 3? We're going to do a whole video on that here. And Part C and Medigap, we're going to do videos on those too.
Right.
So that is just that second part there of it. But let's see, it's 12:42 right now. Okay. This is why I like this website here so much. Now, the fact that people are able to enroll in Advantage plans without putting doctors in, that's what I don't like about this website, because it scares the crap out of you because you don't know what plan you're picking. You're just picking what's voted best, and they don't even know you. They don't know what doctors you have. But for here, this is why it paints a really good picture. And this is probably what you guys went over to.
All we did was we just introduced what we're going to be talking about in
Okay.
these upcoming videos. That's all we did.
So I'll go around the room here for it. So this little next step is how Medicare works as health coverage, as it's intended. Medicare is insurance. You'll hear Brad Jenkins say it to every T65 person out there, or every person who's starting their Part B. Your Medicare is your insurance. You just have something on the back end to help you out with the bills. It's still your primary. You're paying for it. You earned it. You might as well use it. So with Medicare working, they give you 2 easy steps here where it's 2 steps to sign up. Super easy. Sign up for Part A, your hospitalization, or sign up for Part B. Now we talk about special enrollments. We can kind of go over that in a second too, but they have there for you. And then number 2 here, choose which way you want to get your Medicare health coverage. So it says you can either choose a Medicare, original Medicare, or Medicare Advantage plan for your health coverage. If you choose original Medicare, you'll also decide if you want drug coverage and supplemental coverage like Medigap. So Victoria, why don't you tell us, we'll just do a brief little quick one here for those 3 different options that Medicare.gov has.
Don't make me read. It's too
No, that's not reading. This is your own personal opinion here. How does original Medicare work?
Original Medicare, it's A and B. It covers 80% of your hospital and doctor coverage, and anybody in the country that accepts the Medicare is in your network. You have access to the nationwide Medicare network of doctors and hospitals.
Okay, so what is your biggest risk with Medicare? With just original A and B Medicare?
Just original, that you're exposed for the other 20% that Medicare A and B does not cover.
And there's no And there is no limit.
Oh, limit, right.
There is no limit. So as you can see here, I think she actually went 3 for 3 here on it. Good job. Way to go. So you can see here with original Medicare, you can go to any doctor or hospital that takes Medicare anywhere in the U.S. Now that is very specific for everybody out there. The only question when you're on original Medicare that you need to ask your doctor is, do you take Medicare? If they say yes, you're good to go. Be careful. I just got off the phone with the guy we were talking about concierge doctors, how he thought that was a scam. And I'm like, that's the biggest scam out there right now. You know, you're paying $3,000 a year for doctor's cell phone. I had
It's a way for doctors to not have to adhere to the strict guidelines that are there to protect Medicare patients.
I had a couple in Florida that each paid $7,000 individually for a concierge doctor just to have scheduling and contact.
Is that an IPA or is that something different?
I don't drink beers.
No, there's. Well done.
That beat me to the punch.
Yeah.
I've got a client, they go with that Plan Fs,
Uh-huh.
and they're paying $1,500 each to see this doctor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, anyway.
Yeah.
But so that was first line. Second line, you know, you can get drug coverage if you want. We kind of touched on that a little bit. You can buy Medicare supplemental insurance to help lower your share of cost for services that you get. Okay, as well too, we talk about other coverages where if you're continuing your work coverage because you have a spouse that still needs to be on it for 2 or 3 years, it'll tell you how it works in conjunction with your Medicare, with the original Medicare that you have. And as well, next one, lawful person. So what we'll do, Penny, just a quick overview here because I'm scrolling too fast. I don't want to hit how Medicare Advantage plans work yet. How do supplemental plans work? In your easy to digest description.
So anything left over on your Medicare bill or coverage is picked up by the supplement plan. So it picks up the 20%. Whatever's left over where there would be a bill coming to you for you to pay, you no longer have that bill. It's completely covered.
Okay, so in exchange for what?
You have a monthly
There
premium
you go.
that you can easily budget for and would end up probably being much less than you're going to pay out of pocket for your bills.
Okay, so you can say it is a pay before you go, not pay as you go.
Right,
Kind of situation.
right.
Okay, that's the easy breakdown.
Mhm.
Stephen Grip, Mr. Advantage Plan himself. How would you describe quick, just like we did here? How would you describe an Advantage Plan?
An Advantage plan, or otherwise known as Part C, will act as a PPO or an HMO against Medicare. So when you are on Part A and Part B, that is your coverage. That is your quote unquote network. And that network allows you the freedom and the flexibility to go wherever you want, whenever you want. An Advantage plan works like a PPO or an HMO in conjunction with the carrier or the insurance agency. So that carrier, such as AARP or Blue Cross Blue Shield, will act as your network. They get to control and decide the outcomes of your claims. Also, it will be basically your insurance. It functions just like your group insurance or any type of ACA plan. It's just that is happening to you during Medicare. There are some positive things about it, which are there is no additional premium with it. You do get additional perks with them, such as additional dental and vision, as well as other perks along with it. And it is allowing you to make sure that your doctors are in network. Now, there are caveats to it, such as you have to have the carrier dictate the outcome of your claim. Also, they are regional plans. So they are just functioning in your area, such as your zip code. So travel is really looked down upon unless you want to pay different. So that's really, I mean, we get to further detail with that, but that's pretty much the basic difference. You're going from Medicare being your insurance carrier to the actual company being your insurance carrier.
And that is the quick breakdown. Like I said, we'll go into those details later, but for those that are watching, it really breaks down to 3 scenarios. Okay, number 1 is you have your original Medicare A and B. They're covering 80%. You can go see any doctor you want that takes Medicare, but you have to pay the remaining 20%. And there is no limit to what that 20% can be. There's no stopping point. That's option 1. Option 2, you have your supplemental where you still get to use your Medicare, but in exchange for a monthly premium, you have a stop limit. And a lot of the plans now, it's deductible of $233 for a Plan G. That's the most amount you have to pay, but you also have to pay your premium. Or option number 3, which Stephen just went over, your Medicare Advantage or Part C, where you give up your right to Medicare and you go with a company with a managed care plan that now dictates your health coverage. So you can either keep Medicare and not have a limit, you can keep your Medicare and pay to have a limit, or you can subgo your Medicare and let the company rule it. That is the quick breakdown for everybody out there, and we're going to get to those differences between really the last two for it in later videos. But for here, this is just the basic information that you need to know. That is how that works. We'll go into detail a little bit later.
There's one thing I'd like to add real quick. If you elect to go to Medicare Part C or an Advantage plan, you still have to pay for your Medicare. That does not go away. You're still paying that Part B premium because that money now goes to the insurance company.
So you're paying for something you can't use.
Right.
Exactly. So, okay.
And to add on to that, I mean, just to clarify, you cannot get an Advantage plan unless you pay for that Part B.
Right.
Mhm.
That's the rule. Yeah.
That's right.
It's not a way to get out of anything.
Correct.
No,
Yeah.
it's not a cheaper.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
cheaper monthly route because if you're not paying anything for a plan per se,
Yeah.
then you're not paying anything additional. But if you're not paying for anything, as Brad Jenkins says, the cheese in the rat trap is always free.
Mhm.
If you're not paying for it, what do
By the way.
you think they're going to pay for it?
Yeah.
Not. So we'll get into our highs and lows. But as a caveat, there are sometimes Advantage plans are a better option. Like if you're on Medicaid, that's why I'm whispering this.
Mhm.
But there are some times where Advantage plans are better. And we'll go over why in a later video of some issues where an Advantage plan is better than a supplemental plan.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see.
But that's why good discovery is vital.
That is why we have to do the basics before we can get to why do I want this plan?
Right.
So this is what the worst thing that you can hear from getting referrals or anything like that is, and I just hate to hear it because it's a pretty hard one to overcome, and you really have to play your cards right as an agent. But when they go, well, my friend likes Blue Cross, or my sister has Blue Cross, and I really want Blue Cross, and I'm like, well, first off, it ain't even offered in your area, so you can't get it. And they're like, well, I still want Blue Cross. I'm like, you can't. We'll figure out what is best for you.
Yeah.
Eventually, you gotta take a few steps. But for now, if you're just coming in hot and you're like, I like getting junk mail. I want an AARP supplement. I like getting articles and magazines every 2 weeks and a yoga mat for membership and discounts at Denny's. Okay. Yeah. Hey,
So
Grand
let's,
Slam breakfast.
they're good. Yeah. So let's conclude here because and I know that you felt like we were talking about, like we were jumping the cart before the horse before you walked in. To fill you in, we really weren't. Dad
is not mad.
Okay, good. You really came in hot. But really what we were trying to do, because it was a perfect transition because you were coming right into what we were going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
All we're doing is we're looking at scenario 1. I am brand new to Medicare. I have no clue what's going on. How do we engage in this conversation? Well, here are the steps, and now we're going to break down those steps. So I think for tomorrow, what I want to talk about.
She's running tomorrow.
Okay. So for tomorrow, I want to talk about somebody who, and we can still stay focused on this, somebody who is in group coverage, who is retiring. What does that look like? We don't have to talk about supplements yet. I mean, we can still do what we did today. But I want to talk about somebody. We talked about the brand new, I am turning 65. What do I need to do? Tomorrow, I want to talk about I am retiring. So I'm over 65. What are my options? What do I need to know coming into Medicare? And we could add the spouse conversation, but that should be our focus for tomorrow is if you are somebody, because today was just, I'm turning 65 into Medicare. Tomorrow is I'm retiring and I'm starting my Medicare. What does that look like? We could still go into that because that could be a separate video like that where it's like, what does it look like? What do I need to do? What do I have to understand? How do I inform my family when I'm retiring and getting onto Medicare? You want to do that?
Like it.
Okay, awesome. Any final thoughts before we get out of here on what we talked about today?
This is good information.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, I like how we use the slides and the website and I like how we're going to do it like step by step by step. So if you are somebody that is of that, scenario, like today, I'm turning 65. I have no freaking clue what's going on. No one has taught me. I'm talking to my friends and they're telling me, oh, this, and you have no idea what they're saying, or you have, oh, I worked and this is what I did. Like, use this video that you are turning 65 and you can watch this and know exactly where to go.
I
Okay.
will say one thing within the next couple of weeks, that layout on Medicare.gov will more than likely change right before AEP.
That is
They change it
that's
every
why
year.
we have not made our how to sign up for a drug plan video just yet,
Right.
because I keep getting asked for it.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to make it September 23rd and October 2nd. It's a brand new Medicare.gov.
Right.
It happens every year.
Yeah.
So there's no need
So
to do
that
it
it's
right
wrong.
now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your video's wrong.
That's right.
Cool. All right. Well, I mean, it's a little early, but I mean, I think there's enough valued information where we can just label this video like, I'm new to Medicare.
Or I'm turning 65.
I'm turning 65. We can even say that. I'm
There you
turning
go,
65.
Adrian, we're doing it for you.
Yeah, I'm turning 65.
And it's exciting. This is the highest level of insurance coverage we can get as American citizens. This trumps everything else out there unless you're a retired general or a politician. This is it. You're going to spend less money for more coverage and you're going to have more peace of mind than anything else that's marketed out there in the marketplace. So it's great news. It really is. Something to be afraid about. It's exciting.
I tell you, nothing makes you happier doing a T65 for somebody who does not have good health.
Yeah.
And they're stuck on that employer coverage.
And you get to give them the good news.
And you get to give them the good news where their employer cover,
Ticket.
where they're the added spouse on a plan and they're $900 a month and they feel bad because they can't work.
Mhm.
And they're just, costing so much money to their significant other, making them work harder to get more money to pay for their health. And then now in exchange for $250, you can go do anything you want. It's not a lot of times in life where you get that freedom. I know of all of us here, if we could get a Plan G or a Plan N or a high deductible plan, I would have one. I'd submit a policy to Mutual right now just so I can get a card.
Right.
And I'm not even 30,
Yeah.
but I'm old. That's okay. So,
You're an old soul.
You're an old soul. All right, cool. All right, let's end there. Thank you guys. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow where we talk about, hey, I'm retiring. What does that look like? All right, so see you later. Grip is out, and thank you guys.